For 21-year-old Amanda Knox, it is a nightmare 6,000 miles from home. For the past 5 months, she and her former boyfriend, Raffaele Sollecito, have heard the mounting evidence against them in what has been called Italy's trial of the century.
They parade Amanda and Raphael in one at a time. And the mass barrage of cameras that are going off, they're just treated like pieces of meat, which is just disgusting to me.
The crush of cameras and international reporters waiting for Amanda today was the biggest yet. At first, she seemed tense, serious, fully aware that the rest of her life is at stake. Her father, Kurt, sat just 10 feet away. She seemed a little nervous when she came in, very tense, and she did not get to start out with questioning from her own lawyer. She instead faced a hostile attorney.
I think anytime you get in front of a large audience, irrelevant of the circumstances, I think there's a little bit of nerves. But I think that she became more comfortable as the day drew on.
Amanda began the biggest gamble of her life by stating her name, birth, date, and place before a packed courtroom.
Seattle, Washington.
Cameras recording her every word from a court video.
Arriving in the police office, I didn't expect to be interrogated at all.
Very quickly, the questions turned to the circumstances surrounding a grueling all-night police interrogation, during which Amanda eventually implicated herself in the murder.
The interrogation process was very long and difficult. They began asking the same questions that they have been asking me all these days ever since it happened. For instance, who could I imagine could be the person who killed Meredith? I couldn't understand why they were so sure that I was the one who knew everything.
But for the past year and a half, the prosecution has relentlessly pursued the theory that Amanda, Raffaele, and this man, Rudy Gaudet, viciously murdered 21-year-old Meredith during a sex game that went horribly wrong.
Meredith Kircher was betrayed, say police, in the most gruesome fashion.
And from the start, the Italian and British press have painted a dark portrait of Amanda, seizing on the young lover's supposedly suspect behavior, kissing outside the murder scene, buying so-called sexy lingerie at a local store just a day after the killing, and reveling in allegations that behind her bright smile lurks a deep secret.
Amanda Knox, because she's very good-looking, has big blue eyes, always described as icy in the Italian press, is considered the archetypal American. Very pretty on the outside, very innocent-looking on the outside, but inside a calculating murderer.
Okay, they're done.
This Amanda seems a far cry from the little girl Kurt and Amanda's mother Etta raised back in Seattle, a childhood filled with cozy Christmases and soccer tournaments. Gifted in languages, Amanda enrolled at the University of Washington with a plan to spend her junior year in Italy. She worked 3 jobs to make that dream come true. And in the summer of 2007, Amanda's younger sister Deanna shot this video as they made their way to Perugia, a small medieval town known for its chocolate and its university.
So are you excited to go visit where you're going to live in Italy?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to actually getting a place to live. It's the big thing that's on my mind right now. It's actually kind of paranoid for me.
Deanna helped Amanda find this cottage overlooking the hills surrounding the town. It was to be shared with 3 roommates, including pretty British co-ed Meredith Kircher, who was also fulfilling her dream of a year abroad. What did she tell you about the roommates, and in particular Meredith, and how they were getting along?
Everything seemed to be meshing just fine.
Right,
I mean, they got along great.
Yeah.
Meredith and Amanda were the only roommates in town Halloween weekend 2007. November 1st, All Saints' Day, is an important Italian holiday. Amanda says she spent that night with Raffaele at his house. Meredith had an early evening with friends and returned home to the girls' cottage alone at 8:30 p.m. The next morning, November 2nd, Amanda says she came back to the cottage to find the front door wide open. She says she then took a shower and only afterward noticed blood spots on the bathroom floor. She says she went back to Raffaele's house to get him, and then the two returned to the cottage. Soon afterwards, Amanda called her mother, Etta, who was home in Seattle.
She said, well, I was at Raphael's last night, and I've come home now, and I think somebody's been in my house. And she told me, we can't find Meredith. We can't get a hold of Meredith, and her room is locked. And I said, hang up and call the police.
When police arrive at the cottage, they break down Meredith's door. Video taken at the crime scene shows Meredith's blood is everywhere. Her body under a comforter, naked except for her shirt, and her bra on the floor. Meredith had been sexually assaulted and her throat viciously slashed. It was an excruciating end to a promising young life.
She was one of the most beautiful, intelligent, witty, and caring people you could wish to meet.
It was a shocking crime in the quaint medieval town of Perugia, and police fanned out looking for their killer. Within days, they set their sights back on the victim's cottage and her pretty American roommate. It was then that the interrogation took place without a lawyer for hours overnight. After first denying any involvement, Amanda eventually signed a statement saying that she had a vision she may have been in the house that night. Quote, I saw myself. With my hands, I cover my ears because I can hear Meredith screaming.
When you say, first I was at Raphael's house, and then you say, well, I sort of can't quite remember, but maybe I was in the kitchen actually listening to the screams of my housemate who might have been murdered. That is devastating.
The prosecution says it has the forensic evidence to prove the guilt of both Amanda and Raffaele, whose alibis are linked. There is a knife with Meredith and Amanda's DNA on it, found in Raffaele's kitchen. Amanda's DNA mixed with drops of Meredith's blood in their bathroom. A footprint said to be compatible with Raffaele's bathed in Meredith's blood, and Raffaele's DNA on the clasp of the victim's bra in her room. Andrea Vogt has been covering the case for the Seattle Post-Intelligencer.
Has it seemed to be convincing to those in the court, and especially to the jurors and the judges?
Yes, I think it has been a fairly good case that's been presented, but I do think there are some holes where the defense will be able to make inroads.
There was somebody definitely in the house that night, Rudy Gaudet, an unemployed fixture on the Perugia town scene. His DNA is all over Meredith's room, and he admits he was there, but says he did not kill Meredith. Gaudet has already been convicted and sentenced to 30 years in prison, and even though he did not implicate Amanda and Raffaele, the judge ordered the two of them to stand trial for the murder as well.
Has the prosecution explained why she and a boyfriend she'd had for 7 days would decide to find a local drifter that they barely knew, and the three of them ensnare Meredith in this terrible sex game and end up killing her? I mean, it just doesn't seem to add up.
That's still something that a lot of people don't understand about this case, and which is why it would happen. It's a real whodunit.